The history of the world is marked by extremes. Pendulum swings from binges to purges, from impatience to move into the future to a fear of losing the past. From a deep-seated trust of God, gods, humans with special powers or special insight, to a deep distrust of all authority structures. What goes around comes around, and most of the cycles are happening at the same time with different groups and different individuals, depending on our own experiences. We are a reactionary species. We're pretty good at recognizing what's going wrong right now, but we're not so good at remembering all the other ways people and societies tried to tackle these same problems before settling on the current compromise. This often has us playing the fool, repeating long-forgotten errors, expecting different results, but consoling ourselves that if a previous failed solution was used and we don't know about it, did it even really happen? An old guy might be tempted to call it the entitled millennial Schrodinger's cat, but this is nothing new, and we're all guilty of it in one way or another. The progressive left in America is guilty of this when it pretends that strong, centralized power structures are somehow totally new and magically sanctified when baptized by the gospel of Marx and a priesthood of Keynesian elitists. The conservative right is guilty of this when it fails to recognize that for every good idea we should conserve from our wisest forebearers, there are quite a few very bad ones that made some of the good ideas possible. And some of these very bad ideas persist in the form of a cultural lag that keeps some pretty heinous attitudes right on going, right under our noses, and we keep calm and carry on blissfully unaware or willfully complicit in just how glaringly inadequate these ideas are for a changing world. Sometimes they go beyond being inadequate and are just downright destructive. Now, you may be asking me to produce specific examples of both liberal and conservative error, but that's not really the point. Neither side is right. I believe there's a third path, and it's hidden somewhere between the ivy cathedrals, the steel and glass towers of Babel, and the hallowed halls of power on the one hand, and the mines and farms and fishing vessels on the other. I don't think we can figure it out because we have backed ourselves into ideological corners. Only experts are allowed to speak to certain issues, so everyone, even liberals, feel an insatiable urge to specialize or only heed the advice of the specialists. Not a very liberating attitude, that. Either you get your degree, prove your mettle in your field, wear your human resource accomplishments onto your sleeve, or your input really doesn't matter. You subscribe to the orthodoxy of Paul Krugman, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and John Oliver, or you don't know anything. And we see just how in touch with reality the left's experts were in the 2016 election, but for all their hysteria about the fascist Red Scare doomsday scenario of a Trump presidency, I have to agree with the left that Trump is not the Messiah. Call me a blue-pilled cuck, but Trump is not the answer. I voted for him. Yep, I did, but only because the pendulum must swing away from the culture of critical theory nonsense that has made the use of the English language almost impossible, without ridiculous amounts of qualification and apology and second-guessing virtue signaling. But I do not want to see the pendulum swing back to a George W. Bush style of American government or even a Reagan style. I'm hoping that enough of the people in this Trump train will abandon the pendulum swing midway and find this third path between these two short-sighted and old-fashioned strategies for dealing with human cultural heritage and the future of individuals. We have too many specialists in this game, too many people who have too many horses in this race to be the clergy dispensing the decrees on how all the lowly peasant class laity must behave. This is where the surfing violinist comes in. I'm no expert, I surf pretty poorly, but the sport has been a huge part of my life, and I'm no virtuoso violinist, but my time in orchestras has gotten me in touch with my creative artistic side and a whole line of music history. This has become my YouTube branding persona, but it really is me. I love the different ways these two very different activities have taught me to see the world. And 5 years living in India with my family let me see other people from other cultures dealing with their own culture wars and generational wars, the pressures to adopt the family business or religion or cultural norm versus the allure of a more autonomous identity. People all around the world are being forced to be typecast, to be reduced to a bottom line. There often seems to be no room in this world for surfing violinists or anime-loving Indians or gamers of any kind. Are you on team forward or are you on team backward? Are you on team sin or team morality? In India, I began to see the struggle between progress and tradition as an age-old struggle between the tribe and the empire. For all the talk of autonomy and freedom, the new left and the neocon right have made deals with Leviathan, using empire as a ring of power to overcome their enemies. Both sides agree that empire is the solution, and both sides pretend to embrace the tradition of tribes by appealing to rural sensibilities on the one hand, or pretending to care about labor rights or using cloying rhetoric like, "it takes a village," forced literacy, forced sanitation, forced domesticity. These are the freedoms of empire. Free from sickness, but cattle prodded into the antiseptic. But unlike Dune or Star Wars or Firefly, siding with the rebellion or the tribe is not necessarily as simple as it seems. To cast off the shackles of imperial hegemony can in many cases also mean the return of famine, pestilence, and the danger of marauding tribes. The truth is, a tribe is just an empire stunted in its growth. It's an empire with neither the ambition nor resources for total domination, but a tribe is still about control. We're fighting a proxy war between two dying ideologies. On the other side of the empire and tribe is the alluring freedom of anarchy. But almost everyone is afraid of this prospect because, at least in our minds, the fear of the boogeyman of human freedom conjures all sorts of images of demonic excess or might makes right greed. Are you to be trusted? Am I to be trusted? The state and the tribe are both gods we go to for assurance and safety to distract us from the demon within or the heart of darkness without. This brings us back to expert worship. We're all guilty of it. Whether we're all in on red-pilled megalomaniacs or mic-dropping presidents with their witty comebacks, whether we're worshiping ivory tower gangsters or Trump Tower owners, I think we need less experts and more conversation with one another. Less homilies from indoctrinated true believers and more skeptical conversation between confused citizens caught in the crossfire. Yeah, I use a lot of big words, I get it. Maybe there's no market for what I'm saying, but this is how I write, this is how I think. If you're like me and you're sick of being forced to fit into a party platform or a company ethos or a statement of faith and just want to find a different way to talk about reality, join me in this weekly podcast, a place for weirdo enthusiasts and idea people who want to test the waters of seemingly contradictory ideas and search for unexpected cross-cultural and subcultural connections. It's a place for athletes who like Shakespeare, to gore fans who still watch Bollywood, jocks who play D&D, Hindus who like Trump, Muslims who practice parkour, Christians who love Hitchens, atheists fascinated by Dante's Inferno, and a weird surfing violinist American who wants to stay connected to India. It is not always going to be this heady, I promise. I'll have guests, most of them Indian friends. Some of the guests you can expect in upcoming episodes include an Indian entrepreneur in Delhi who publicly predicted a Trump win before it was cool, an entrepreneur in Bengaluru who just moved from the corporate world into managing a food truck, and yes, a practicing Muslim who is India's best free runner. So welcome to The Surfing Violinist. I promise to make you think and annoy the hell out of you at least once an episode. Let's find some unexpected connections and try to discover a new political, economic, and ideological non-zero-sum future for individuals trapped between imperial experts and tribal chiefs. Until next time, keep it creative, keep it cross-cultural, and keep it constructive, Internet. Thank you very much.